Heya Cryptozens, it's 10 p.m. Pacific time. The date is October 13th, 2022. Welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus, and I'll be your host as we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space and the industry that surrounds it. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. So I've had this dream many times, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I wake up and I've won life-changing amounts of money in some contest or another. And that's exactly what a Melbourne, Australia couple said happened. Or at least that's what they said that they thought happened. So here's the story. This lady named Theva Manavel and her husband Jatinder Singh are in trouble. They were sent 10.5 million Australian dollars, or about 6.6 million US. It was sent to them on Crypto.com in 2021. So they're arguing that they thought that they were sent this money because they won some sort of contest. Well, now they're facing trial in the Victoria Supreme Court. They're facing theft charges, among other things. See, what happened is they took that money and then they went on a shopping spree. So they appeared in court via video link. This was on October 11th. And both of them pled not guilty. And the defense is that Singh thought that he'd won a contest from Crypto.com. And that's what he told his wife. So here's the thing. The funds were sent to the wife's bank account in May of 2021. And that's because even though the account at Crypto.com belonged to him, it was his wife's account that he used to buy crypto. And so he's saying that he thought he'd won a contest. He said that he'd already received notification from Crypto.com about a competition. Now, of course, Crypto.com, they have a different story. First off, they didn't even notice the mistake until they had an audit last December. But anyway, Michi Flores is a compliance officer with Crypto.com. And from the exchange's side of this story, the problem came from simple human error. An employee based in Bulgaria entered some bad data in an Excel spreadsheet. And as far as Singh's claims about receiving notification about a contest, Flores denies all of that. They said that there was no such contest, and further, they never send notifications to tell users about winnings. Now, Singh is facing charges of theft for withdrawing Crypto.com money from the bank. His wife is facing charges of theft for the same thing. She's also facing charges of negligently dealing with the proceeds of a crime, as well as attempting to flee the country, because they got a hold of her at a Melbourne airport trying to fly home to Malaysia with 11,000 Australian dollars. Now, she was granted bail, but she had to give up her passport, and she's barred from any points of departure like airports. So they're due to appear for a directions hearing on November 8th. In more crime-related news, French law enforcement authorities have used their research from ZachXBT. Now, ZachXBT is a pseudonymous blockchain investigator, and their research points to 5 people as being guilty for stealing $2.5 million worth of NFTs from phishing schemes. According to a report shared with Barron's, the thieves built a website, and this website advertised a service. They promised that they could animate NFTs from the Bored Ape Yacht Club and Mutant Ape Yacht Club collections. Of course, the fact that we're talking about this on this show means, yep, it's a scam. Instead, what happens is the victims had their credentials stolen, and then soon after, their NFTs were stolen as well. The thefts occurred in late 2021 and early 2022. They have 5 suspects, all in their mid to late 20s. And they're facing charges of fraud as part of a gang, concealing fraud, and criminal association. Which is always exciting and good stuff, but this one has a twist. Because Christophe Durand is the deputy chief of France's National Cyber Unit, and he told French media that they were clued into the crimes based on observations made by ZachXBT to his Twitter audience. He said that Zach got involved in response to a slew of requests from community members who held those NFTs and then had them stolen. Now, for his part, Zach said that they were pleased to see the French police take action against the thieves. They were also pleased to see that they were officially credited for their work, because they are an independent investigator. Their money comes from community donations. So in a tweet, they linked back to the article that gives them credit for starting the investigation in the first place. Now, apparently, the investigation hinged on one key piece of evidence: the use of the crypto mixer Tornado Cash. Now, this guy apparently left hints that Zach used to figure it out, and it has to do with how they were drawing off 10 ETH at a time from their Tornado Cash account. This amount, 10 ETH at a time, eventually added up to the amount of these stolen NFTs that were sold. Quote, while the scammer did make an attempt to hide their breadcrumb trail by depositing the stolen funds into Tornado Cash, they were not careful about covering their tracks when it came to withdrawing the funds from Tornado. Now let's change the subject from criminals to police. Law enforcement in the Firozabad district, they have a new tool to help keep their 2.8 million of citizens safe. They launched a police complaint portal that uses blockchain technology to prevent manipulation of the data. So yesterday, it was announced by Polygon's founder Sandeep Nalwal that the Polygon blockchain had been chosen by police in Uttar Pradesh to fight local police corruption. Which makes sense, right? Immutable records are good for exposing lies and corruption, especially where the complaints of victims of crimes can register those complaints against local law enforcement. So this app is called First Information Report, or FIR, and it means that complaints can't just be dismissed or altered by corrupt officers. Nilewal said that this project was important to him because he grew up in an area with stories of victims not getting justice because of local police corruption. He tweeted, quote, this is very close to my heart. We grew up hearing about so many of these cases wherein, due to some corruption in a local police department, victims, mostly of rapes, are not even able to register complaint or the complaints being manipulated. Nilewal said this, quote, could be a game changer in ensuring right to justice. Kashif Raja is a founding member of BitTinning, a crypto education startup. On Twitter, they noted that the first complaint portal on Polygon has launched. They said, quote, complaints are now immutable, verifiable, easy to follow. Speaking of storing documents on the blockchain, did you see this out of the UK? The Electronic Trade Documents Bill was approved of by the House of Lords yesterday. A press release put out by the British government indicates that they intend to become, quote, paperless where official documents are concerned. So they're looking at using the blockchain to store those documents. And so this Electronic Trade Document Bill was approved in the House of Lords yesterday, which furthers the UK's goals, because they've said that they want to become the blockchain and crypto hub. That sentiment is upheld by several members of Parliament, as well as Richard Fuller, Economic Secretary to the Treasury. So 2 days after Liz Truss was elected Prime Minister, replacing Boris Johnson, Fuller said, quote, they want to become the country of choice for those looking to create, innovate, and build in the crypto space. Now, this was at a time when the EU was slogging their way through the MiCA bill and the potential restrictions and fallout from some of the things proposed in that bill. Fuller said, quote, by making this country a hospitable place for crypto technologies, we can attract investment, create new jobs, benefit from tax revenues, create a wave of groundbreaking new products and services, and bridge the current position of the UK financial services into a new era. So their plan to digitize and blockchain the government's documents is an idea I can get behind. It should make the documents far more secure, far more accessible, easier to trace, and resistant to change. I think this is an idea whose time has come and one we should advance on our side of the pond. As we like to do on this show, let's take a look at the numbers. At the time of writing, the global crypto market cap is $926 billion. That's up 0.33%. The top 5 cryptos by market cap are Bitcoin up 1.09%, Ethereum down 0.53%, Tether, USDC, and Binance Coin up 0.57%. Staying on the topic of governments, let's now take a look at Brazil, Rio de Janeiro specifically, because they're making some very crypto-friendly moves here, and this is their latest. The city of Rio is looking for crypto firms to operate their tax property services in 2023. According to a decree posted on Tuesday, this means that taxpayers can use crypto as well as fiat currency to make their tax payments. This makes Rio the first Brazilian city to greenlight accepting crypto for taxes, and it's expected that the city's taxpayers will be able to pay with more than one type of crypto asset. It's also expected that this will catch on and more agencies will start to accept crypto for tax payments. If you're willing to provide those tax services, your company must be registered with the city and meet the Brazilian Securities Exchange Commission's requirements. The companies that make it through this process will facilitate crypto payment services as well as converting crypto into fiat. So these companies will send tax payment onto the government in the form of fiat, all with no additional cost to taxpayers. Their mayor said, quote, "Rio de Janeiro is a global city. Therefore, we are following technology and economic advances in the universe of digital financial assets. We have a look to the future, and we want to become the country's capital of innovation and technology. Our city is the first in Brazil to offer the taxpayer this type of payment." And it's hardly surprising that Rio has gone this route. We were talking about this not too long ago. Recently, the number of companies in Brazil holding crypto hit new highs last August. Their tax agency reported over 12,000 different companies declared crypto on their balance sheets last August. That's an increase of over 6% from July. Now, moving away from the Brazilian SEC to our own here at home, because Democratic Senator John Hickenlooper has some feelings for how Chair Gensler has been handling crypto at the Securities Exchange Commission. And this is becoming more bipartisan as there have been many lawmakers critical of Gensler's actions. Pat Toomey, for example, a Republican from out of Pennsylvania. He's already gone after Gensler for their lack of regulator action. He feels that this inaction contributed to the collapse of several crypto companies like Celsius. In Hickenlooper's case, the Coloradan senator is one of the first Democrats to really take after Gensler publicly. Hickenlooper sent a letter to Gensler, and in this letter, he said that the current regulator framework causes uneven enforcement. It's also a barrier to having a clear understanding of the protections available to investors. He said, quote, "At the same time, as you have repeatedly noted, existing securities regulation does not apply cleanly. Applying the old rules to the new market could inadvertently cause financial services to be more expensive, less accessible, and the SEC's disclosure regime to be less useful to the American people." So he wants the SEC to clear up which digital assets are securities and which are not. He also wants them to make it clear how they should be issued, how they should be listed, what disclosures are needed to inform investors. He wants a registration regime for handling platforms, as well as rules for how trading and custody should be handled. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen was talking up the need to build a regulator framework as well, specifically referencing the Terra Luna event as one possible danger, zoning in on the performance of Tether after Terra's stablecoin failed to maintain its peg. This was at the International Monetary Fund's IMF annual meeting when Yellen said that we already have more regulations on the books than most people think. However, she also said that there are many holes that need to be taken care of, and she indicated a willingness to work with Congress to fill those holes. On the subject of a central bank digital coin, Yellen said a CBDC has advantages as well as the potential to solve many problems. Knowing a CBDC takes a great deal of time to implement, she said it's worth getting involved in developing. Quote, "We can continue to think about whether it's right to implement, but that we should be in a position where we could issue one." Secretary Yellen is also part of the Financial Stability Oversight Council, and the FSOC, which includes Fed Chair Powell. They published a report specifically asking Congress to provide guidance on what should be in and out of bounds as far as securities are concerned. On the subject of CBDCs, let's take a look at China, as they have something of a progress report on their own journey to implement a CBDC, although things might not be going as well as once believed. So what happened is, the Chinese government announced that CBDCs have processed over 100 billion yuan worth of transactions. However, this is in the midst of quite the slowdown. Here's what I mean. This year, China's CBDC, increased in transaction volume by 14% as recorded from the end of last year. 14% sounds pretty good, right? Well, not when compared to the 154% growth experienced in the last 6 months leading up to the end of 2021. Now, we don't know how many wallets that presents. The last update we got was 261 million wallets by the end of last year. And that 100 billion won is also insignificant when compared to other competitors in that exact space. Payment providers like Tencent's WeChat Pay and Ant Group's Alipay. Alipay settled trillions of won in payments last year, $16.4 trillion worth. And so, as it sits, China is rolling out their CBDC in 23 countries as still part of their pilot. These include Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. We'll see you tomorrow night.